House of Kayfabe with Brian Resner and Stephen New.
Live on location from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Wrestlecade.
Welcome back to the House of Kayfabe, everybody. This is Stephen P. New, and I am so honored to have with the House of Kayfabe today a young lady who's starting to develop a following in the sport of professional wrestling, a young lady who needs no introduction, Izzymania. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to be on here. I know we've been trying to lock down this interview the whole day and even yesterday, but I'm happy we're finally able to make it happen. Thanks for having me on. We are
so happy to have you here on the House of Kayfabe podcast. And for starters, let's talk about Wrestlecade. Yes. Tell me what you think so far.
Oh, man. The whole, the week leading up to Wrestlecade. So, for starters, this is my first Wrestlecade and also, my first convention and official appearance. So, I'm very honored and happy to be here.
Yay.
So, the week leading up to Wrestlecade, a lot of people were like, man, it's going to be nuts. You're going to love it. And I was like, okay, I'm really excited. And they were true because I have loved every second of it. I was a little nervous at first, but it was like that excited nervous, if you get my gist. But I was so excited and honored to be able to be here and get to meet my fans. And I even got to interview some talent while the convention was going on. You can check those interviews out soon on my Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. It's Izzymania, but we'll do a plug-in later.
All right. We'll tell everyone where to find you, Izzy.
Definitely.
So, 125 superstars.
Really? That many?
That many.
Oh, I wasn't told that number.
Sure.
Am I considered one of those superstars?
You're considered one of the superstars. You absolutely are.
I love that.
You're one of 125.
Wait, I like that. That's so cool.
And this is your first convention, right? And for those viewers, listeners who aren't familiar with your story, why don't you tell your story?
Oh, God. It's a long one for sure. I'm joking. So a lot of people know me as the Bayley girl or the girl from NXT TakeOver Respect when Sasha Banks stole my headband and I bawled my eyes out. It was my infamous moment. But as I grew up, I wanted to pursue the dreams of being in the pro wrestling industry. And I had my first match when I was really young against Effie, and I won the Internet Championship. And then I started my show, The Hot Tag with Izzy, where I preview on a weekly basis several shows that are in the pro wrestling world. So that's been a lot of fun, and I even get to interview some really cool people. Now I have my first ever job at 14 with WOW Women of Wrestling. I work more behind the scenes, and I'd love to talk about WOW because there's a lot to get into. And
yes.
I am so honored to be a part of the WOW team, and it's something that a lot of people need to look forward to because there's a lot of stuff in store for everybody.
That's fantastic. And I've spoken with your parents. You're here with your folks, obviously, right?
Obviously.
And that is because you are 14 years old. Right?
I am 14, and that surprises people a lot, and I can see why, but I'm always so honored and humbled when they say, wow, you're doing such a great job at 14, so it's really cool to hear that, and I appreciate it a lot, because then it's like, wow, I'm doing something really cool in my life, and I'm kicking butt.
Right, and not a lot of people know what we want to do as early as 14, yes. Right?
I hear it all the time in school. I will explain what I have going on in my life. I travel a lot for my job. So I was in Las Vegas for 3 days for WOW. And that was when the announcement was made that WOW is coming back. And a lot of kids were like, what are you doing? And I couldn't say it yet because I didn't want the secret to get out that WOW Women of Wrestling was returning, but I travel a lot, and the kids, they're always asking me, what do you do? Why are you traveling? And I'm just like, my job, man. And they'll tell, and I ask them, what do you want to do after high school? And they'll be like, I am still planning it out. And I'm like, oh my God, it's interesting to hear and just to see my progress throughout the years, how I started off as just this fan of a wrestler, Bayley. And then I have grown and I kind of have this little empire of fans and this huge family of people that I love. And it's really cool to see me blossom in the pro wrestling industry.
Right. And that's how it starts for all of us, right?
It does, yes.
Last year, and I'll tell a story on myself. Last year, I got to buy a belt, the Southeastern Championship belt, which was being defended in the very first pro wrestling match I ever watched on television.
Oh, that's really cool.
In 1981. And so I got to meet that wrestler last year, and I had met him before, but I got to meet him again. I purchased that belt, and that means so much to me. It hangs in my house, and every time I look at that belt and that picture that's autographed to me, I feel 10 again, because that's when I first started watching professional wrestling. And so it's so great to hear your story, to hear that, you fell in love with Bayley, you were a fan, and it's turned into this thing where that's now your passion. That's what you want to do, and you're involved in WOW, and you have your own podcast and your own, as you say, your mini empire that you're building to be a great empire one day. That's just so fantastic. Now, your mom told me a story. Mm-hmm. She said you made yourself a life map a few years ago where you mapped out
my God, wait, I remember
what you wanted to do. And she said at first she was kind of blown away and didn't know how to handle that, except that as parents, and I have an 18-year-old daughter aspiring to be a Broadway actress, all you can do as a parent is support your child's dreams, and you get a lot of support from your family, obviously, right?
Yeah, it's every day and everything I do, and not in just the pro wrestling industry, literally everything I do, as long as it's not like a bad thing and I'm getting in trouble, obviously.
Sure.
But my parents have always supported me in anything I do. When I wanted to pursue this dream of being in the pro wrestling industry, and I just don't want to say like being a pro wrestler, because yes, that is definitely on the horizons for me, but there's other stuff that I really want to do, and there's stuff where I'm like, hey, maybe this broadcasting thing is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because first off, I love football right now, and I want to be like the next Kay Adams on Good Morning Football. I freaking love her, and I love watching football every single week. Go Washington.
Who's your favorite team?
Washington football team, and my boo is Taylor Heineke. I think he's adorable, and he's a great quarterback. I mean, we could do better. I mean, Tom Brady's out there, but Taylor Heineke, he's doing good right now. Anyways, back to your question. My parents have always supported me in anything I do, and it means a lot to me because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't get the support from others and even their parents, and that really breaks my heart, but I'm just so fortunate to have their love in anything I do. When I told them, hey, I want to pursue this, they said, yes, we're going to go full steam at it, and that's what I do every day in my, whether it's my job at WOW, Women of Wrestling, whether it's my show, The Hot Tag with Izzy, when I have to film that, or when it's coming to places like these and going to Wrestlecade, I have to be this superstar and have this and create an experience for the fans. That's what I love to do, and it's something that my parents have always been behind, and I will always appreciate that. So thanks, Mom and Dad.
Let me ask you another question about the history of the sport of professional wrestling. Have you yet turned into a student of the sport? Because you were born in 2007, and that's kind of like at the end of the ruthless aggression era.
Yes, I know.
And for so many,
I know a lot of people say you missed the good years of wrestling, and I think wrestling is obviously pretty much evolving every single day. I would say.
So I mean, but from the territories in the 70s and the 80s, which is my era of wrestling, up through the 90s and the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, into the Ruthless Aggression era, and then on to the PG era and sort of the modern era of wrestling. How much are you a student of the sport of professional wrestling?
I remember Lita said this to me when I met her at WrestleCon, and she said, I don't know how we got into the topic, but she was like, eventually you're going to have to stop being a fan and start watching wrestling differently. And that has stuck with me so much, and that has really been with me for the rest of my career. And, I hit a point when I kind of stopped dressing up as Bayley, and I think it was when I started the Hot Tag with Izzy. I think that's when I really became a student, because I was learning how to analyze wrestling. Yeah. Which is something, it's not, I don't want to say, it's really hard to do, but it's different. And it's, you got to use analogies, and you got to sound interesting. You got to be fun and whatnot. And that's for some people, it's a hard thing to do, but it's something that I loved, and I love being in front of the camera. And I even started to watch wrestling differently, and I started to reach out to a very good friend of mine, Bully Ray, or I call him Uncle Bully. And during the summer, we would get together on Zoom, and we would talk about match psychology. And I don't think I've ever told this story. I'm not really sure.
A House of Kayfabe exclusive, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. I feel maybe I have, but I don't think I'm like 99% sure I haven't on air. But literally, he would tell me, he would give me a match to watch. I would make notes, and I would have questions written down for him. Then I would literally go through, and he taught me how matches are supposed to go and the psychology behind that.
Right.
So I feel like that was a major step for me in watching wrestling differently. And I watch wrestling different now because I feel like I know a lot more.
Right.
Whether it's more behind the scenes part, like the bad behind the scenes, or it's like match psychology and seeing why people do certain moves and why people look at the camera the certain way and whatnot.
Well, if I can give you any unsolicited advice, not that I'm anybody, but learn the history, because like just here right now, Wendy Richter and Leilani Kai, who are at our table, they co-main evented WrestleMania 1.
Yes, and it's so cool to be at Wrestlecade with these people.
Right.
And I think even speaking about Wrestlecade and being here, like you have to learn how to like be a superstar. And it's not like being fake. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it's literally like being not over the top, but like creating an experience for the person that is coming up to you and using their hard-earned money to take a picture of you or buy something from you. Like, you have to create this experience, and that's something that I've always wanted to do. And so that's why, like, I just love meeting my fans, and especially here, it's been really cool to meet everybody.
We have lots of legends right out here at the House of Kayfabe and All-Star Wrestling, and then all of the other folks that are here, particularly, and the one thing that I'm proud of Wrestlecade about is there are a lot of female wrestlers here. Showcasing women wrestlers and women in the sport, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of Tracy for including women here, and I'm proud of my own table that we have Wendy Richter, Leilani Kai, we have Sunny and Francine. It's just really important to me as the father of a daughter.
Yeah, and it's my dad feels the same way.
Power.
It's so funny that you say that, and I just want to bring light to a couple of people that I've met today or who I saw again today that I absolutely adore, or who I started to adore. One of those people is Kylan King. She is a literal star in the making. Even though she's already a star, she's just so powerful in the ring, and I just love to watch her matches. She's been seen on AEW Dark, and I believe AEW Dark Elevation. I think she's been on AEW Dynamite too, so definitely check her out. She is also one of the sweetest people, and she's actually here today. Another person that I adore is Jamie Senegal. What I really love about her is that she stands for diversity and empowerment, and it's something that I can 100% get behind. And I just love Jamie, and every time I see her, she honestly makes my day, and I just want to be around her 24/7. And the last person, this person I've met for the first time today, Kenzie Page. She is 19 years old, and I really look up to her for being able to take the pro wrestling industry by storm at such a young age. And even though there are people saying that you shouldn't be very young in the ring, and I have been told that all of my life, I really look up to her that she's been able to push through that and is wrestling and is killing it on the independent scene right now.
Yep.
And
yes,
so, like,
she is.
I think me and her are going to become best friends, because she even said to me, she was like, I want to be your friend. And I was like, I want to be your friend too. Like, we're besties already.
I gotcha. Well, listen, is there anything else? Why don't you tell the residents of the House of Kayfabe where they can find Izzymania?
Oh, you can find me everywhere, pretty much. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and even Pro Wrestling Tees. On my social medias, you can look me up. It's Izzymania. Make sure you put in the it's, ITS, IZZYMANIA. It's Izzymania. You can watch my weekly show, The Hot Tag of Izzy, where I preview weekly shows across pro wrestling. You can look me up on Pro Wrestling Tees. Just look up Izzy and you'll find me. I got some really cool t-shirts. But thank you so much for having me on today. And also, everybody, make sure you tune into Wow Women of Wrestling, because we're coming back very soon, this December. And in fall of next year, we're going to have a whole new set of Wow superheroes. It's going to be very exciting.
We are really looking forward to that.
And we got a stacked lineup. Honestly, like, I feel like the first person I can say is Tessa Blanchard. Legend.
Yes.
Already a legend. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna fangirl a little bit. But AJ Mendez, known as AJ Lee, like
Yes.
I get to work with her, which is so cool. So make sure you guys tune into WoW Superheroes, which is returning very soon. So thank you so much for having me on
Thank
today.
you so much for being with us, young lady. You're such an inspiration. Best of luck in everything that you do. And we would love to have you back on the House of Kayfabe just any time. So thank you so much for being our guest. Stephen P. New, and it's Izzymania on the House of Kayfabe. Thanks so much, folks.
Thank you.
Kayfabe with Brian Resner and Stephen New.
Live on location from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Wrestlecade Revenge.